in scouting?
When I first got involved in scouting, my next door neighbor was a scoutmaster, and I believe that was, I'm trying to remember the troop number. That was up at First Baptist Church. I don't remember the actual troop, but that's how I got involved to begin with. Well, I was in Cub Scouts before that, though.
So you started out
I was
as...
in Pac 3 with the Cub Scouts.
Okay.
Along with that, my dad was a Cub master. My mother was a den mother. It was in the family. Bill and Tom's mother and my mother went to school together in Cary. Years ago, my dad too. And then Richard's parents were about 40 when he was born. He was born real late. But his father and my grandparents lived next door to each other. And that's how I met him. So I've known him 55 years or so, 55 years.
Can you remember back one of your first talk about one of your first camping experiences and what you thought about it?
My very first camping experience?
Yeah, whichever one you want to talk about.
My very first camping experience I went on was with that other scout troop. I was brand new. I didn't have a sleeping bag or anything, and I went on a trip totally new, unprepared, and we were freezing cold, and we had a real thin sleeping bag made sort of material similar to an army blanket, and it was very cold. I remember that.
But you went camping again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I stayed in there until I got in college, and I assisted a little bit when I got in college, working with the troop.
Do you continue to stay involved with scouting?
No, because I got in the Navy and I was traveling around, and I tried to get involved with scouting, but being aboard a ship was kind of messed me up. I did a career in the Navy, and my scouting skills helped with that. In fact, I later wrote a thing to the, I'm trying to think of the name, Trailblazer or whatever publication that they have locally. We had an incident where I was on the ship, and we were in France, moored to the pier, and I was on quarterdeck watch, and there were two sailors, French sailors, and one of them you could tell was afraid, and they were climbing up a line to get on board the ship. Anyway, one of them fell in the water, and he looked very distraught. And I left my post on the quarterdeck, turned it over to the officer, grabbed the life ring that they have for emergencies with the line attached, and I went down and threw it, and the crowd gathered and helped pull him out of the water, etc. And I wrote the letter to the scoutmaster, not so much trying to point goodness to myself, but the fact that all these scouts out there I had seen at the lake, and they had to learn to coil up the rope and toss the ring. They wouldn't just check them off on it. They made them do it. You had to do it right, learn to do that, and show them how important it was. Because if whoever had put that line up had put it up and it had been tangled, and I went to throw it to him, it wouldn't have done no good. So that's where scouting skills, and they printed that in the Trailblazer. And our scoutmaster, C.H. Weston, I ran into a man that worked with my dad. He's a 6'8", big, tall fellow. And he called on my dad in auto parts. And he was, one day we were talking one day and something about scouting, and he mentioned being in scouting. He knew C.H. Weston from years ago. He was my dad's age, and he knew C.H. Weston, and he told me a story about Mr. Weston that let's see, something about some scouts that were fixing to go somewhere, and Mr. Weston went out there and picked up the end of their car or whatever to keep them from getting away. I mean, he was a character. He was real strong. He could beat anybody at arm wrestling. I mean, he was in his 60s and he was arm wrestling people. He was very, very athletic.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that. Now, you mentioned